Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to welcome you back to Mindful Monday, episode 11. It's been a while. We were forced to skip the past week as I had the flu and I'm still not in best shape again, but I'm feeling well enough to record this now and I don't want to get out of the rhythm of doing these weekly episodes. So here we are, back with what I think is a very interesting and important topic, which I do believe many people struggle with, maybe even without actively knowing. Vani sent in a game of playing an anchorless comms, which means they only have slayers, supporters, and midline. The furthest range that they have is mid-range, against a comb with the most classical backline, a charger, even leader. And he wanted me to focus on what do you actually do against leader? The definition of range and power. How do you play against this thread, this anchor, this typical anchor? And as usual, we're going to take a look at the game and then dive deep into the analysis of, what fine tunings and plays you gotta do in order to overcome those comms. And subscribe, ring the notification bell, like the video, you know this stuff, and you should also please do. Please. Let's go. It's Clamlet. It's always Clamlet. But luckily that won't be our focus for today. Okay. Let's see. Okay, on one side we have Leader paired with Squeezer, Urkel, Machine, and Shod. Yeah, a solid comp. You have Slayer, midline, backline, no real support, which might cause the team to lack some paint. And on the other side, Tetra hyper aggressive 52 as a very solid offensive option. Dualies Squelchers as midline, and then the Junior as paint, bomb, and barrier support. First 30 seconds played, Green Dive has gotten into the midsection, and they're looking to build up their control, but you see the moment that the support goes down, they struggle with keeping up their pressure here. And this is one of the points that is so important about anchorless comms. You need to play together and know what you have to do for your team. Like, what role do you play in that team composition? Beautiful teaming on the top side there. 3v1 taken out. Timoth is exerting pressure there on the left side, but doing it safely, backing out once there's too much danger, looking for the leader, finds the leader, that makes it a 4v3. They have the clamps, they have the positioning. You see how far they already got into the opposing base here. Avoiding the Booyah Bomb, very well done. Forced early out, Squeezer is trapped down there. They'll get the kill, beautifully done. Now 4v3 and they have all the players trapped up there. Going for the trades, they find more picks. First big climb is in, they find the last player, and now it's all the respawns. They get their climbs in, even securing the kill on the first respawn player. And now they're free to go. The map is green, as you see, and if you've noticed and if you pay attention to what Bunny does throughout this game, is actually very important. We've talked about it in the past, what Tetras are made for. Those things are aggression. All they do is go in and look for kills. And what they were is QR, so if they get splatted in the process, or if they get a trade, it won't harm them. This is what they do. You often had bombs to poke and disrupt the enemy lines, but in this case it's an entire play that does this. You see this, going in, finding 2 kills, and suddenly the opposing team is in a position where they're down a player, 3v2 in the mid, and Dive can easily secure mid. They find another pick just by one player constantly going in and annoying the opponents, because you have to do something about the Tetras. You can't just let them go in and do their thing. You have to pay attention to them, you have to look out for them, and you have to dedicate at least one player to somehow deal with this weapon. You see it again, going in, jumped in, found 2 players, looking for the 3rd run now. Squeezer down there, he's helping now, they find the pick. Bunny staying in there, finds the leader again, and goes down, and that's perfectly fine. He got a value of, I don't know, 41 there after his jump into the opposing spawn, and this delays the opposing actions. Like, all the kills he gets are important because they will respawn longer than he does. And you see it, going in, finds a pick, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. They're in a 3v3, but he delays whatever they try to do in the offense, and you see it, they only have 6 clams to their hands yet again. And as long as Vani keeps jumping in on them, they can't do much. And all the rest has to do is play their roles and play it safe. I can already spoil this. Vani has exactly the amount of deaths all the other 3 players of Dive have after this game. And this is the playstyle of Tetras. He gets the deaths, so the rest doesn't have to, and all they have to do is stay alive and play what their weapons are made for. And there aren't particular scenes that I want to take from this game, as I also do believe that Dive was playing much stronger and is the better team in this situation, which makes it not that accurate. But there are a few things that we can take from the games, which I can show you on the map in a second. So this is pretty much how a neutral position in such games looks like. On one side, the anchorless comp, you have all 4 players somewhat sticking together. And what this does, they all can cover each other. Especially if you have at least one midline that can somehow act as an pseudo anchor that always sticks to the team. They can help in whichever fight the rest of the players are taking, as they have the range for this. For example, put in, like Dive did, dually squelchers. This can also be a squeezer, forge, and some variants. Splatling, if played as a rather aggressive option, is also something that can fit in this role. So all these players act as a unit. These 4 can always fight together. Like, if one player is seeing something, they can easily make it a 2v1 and double team it. Or what we've also seen in the game just now, a 3v1 on the player just dropping down there. Like, they can all react to callouts very, very quickly, as they are in short fighting, and they're sticking close to each other. And with comms that have a backline, of course, the player in the back, and especially leader, they can support the team as well. They have the range to see what is going on there. They can take out a player in fight and somehow cover their teammates doing so. But just generally looking at the situation that is happening down in the center of the map, for example, it's a 4v3. And what you have to do then is be quick and have an idea how you 4 want to fight against 3 players. You have to keep in mind, as long as you all are quick and know how to execute these team fights, you will always be up a player. And isn't that perfect, having man advantage or player advantage? And there's a trick to it that you can use. A leader can only do so much if they see you. If you drag fights in an area where the leader does not have the ability to see and therefore kill you, you've won this fight. And if you're more experienced, this obviously gets a bit easier, as you can just, you're more capable of drawing players out of their comfort zone and making them fight in an area where they didn't plan to fight in the first place. And against equally good players or more experienced players, you have to be experimental with that, and you just have to find ways to make players greedy and go for the kills, to make them feel safe even though they clearly aren't. You just have to be creative with that, but you'll find ways with dealing with this kind of issue. But then it's a 4v3. You can easily win this fight, and then if the leaders just by themselves, they won't be able to slow down for player push. And yeah, this is also the point where everyone has to be aware of what role they're playing. Especially if you have a paint supporter, they always need to stay alive to support every action that the team is trying to pull off. And the midline player, as the one to help in pretty much every fight, you want to stay alive. Make sure that these two core members, support and midline, always stay alive, so they can have impact and help the other two aggressive options. Another helpful thing when playing against especially chargers as backlines are flanks, because there's nothing more annoying and threatening if you're, as the player that is the furthest behind, suddenly sees themselves in a 1v1 against, let's say, a shooter. You're surprised where they come from, and you're unlikely to win that fight, and suddenly you're down a player and you have someone behind you, and then you can just pincer the opponents and easily overcome them in a fight. And what Dive presented us, and something that we've seen in the past quite often, is kind of a zombie strat. Tetras, as mentioned, they run QR for the sole reason to go in, pick fights, pick every possible fight that they can seek, get a kill, die, and repeat. And this for 5 minutes straight. And in this case, you can combine these two things and just send the Tetras on a suicide mission to annoy the opposing backline as much as possible. You don't want a QR boosted Tetra to constantly jump in your face. This is disrupting everything that you do, and a leader that doesn't do their job is useless. And the Tetra makes annoying the leader their job, so they get so much value out of this. And make it a 3v3 in the center, while they always have the option, if they get the kill, to get back and support the team. And zombie, why zombie? You respawn after death. That's pretty much it. And you do that all the time. It's a pure QR tactic. And other weapons can do that too. Pretty much all shooters can do the same. But Tetras with the mobility have an easier way to survive these ambushes if you just go in and try to get as much kills as possible. And we've seen it a couple of times in the match that we watched from Dive, that Vani just goes in. He is the poking. He does the poking as a whole player, as the weapon. Went in, looked for the kills, and this draws attention, and this is the moment where the rest of the team can strike. Of course, they have to play safe. If you do something like zombie strats, it's either the whole team or you just dedicate one player to doing it. And in this case, Vani got 9 deaths and all other players just got 3. And this is pretty much how you want it to look like. One player doing the whole poking thing, he's drawing the attention, he's getting the kills that normally would have been split up between the other players, but they stay safe and they utilize the disruption that the Tetra causes. If the players are looking at the Tetras, it's the midline that can go in and secure a kill. It's the second additional Slayer that can just go in and sneak, combine it. Sneak in, get the kill on the leader, while the Tetra is drawing the attention. So you have flanks plus the zombie going in. And there are many variants how you can play it out, but the main thing you always gotta keep in mind is stick to your role and play safe. You don't want the deaths if you have one player that gets all the deaths for you. And there's one final thing that I don't want to hide from you. In Splatoon 2, the previous game, the downfall of all backline weapons, but especially chargers and leaders in particular, were Tana missiles. A special that is displacement. It is the definition of forcing someone out of their position, which is the death of, leaders that get their value out of being in a crucial position and reaching pretty much everything on the map. For Splatoon 3, this got nerfed a bit simply by which weapons Tana missiles were put on. Reflux could spam missiles, but otherwise sucks. Goodtuber is Goodtuber, and Flings a Roller is the best option out of those 3. And saying that Flingza is the best option sounds sad just by itself. It also received a recent nerf. You can't spam missiles as effective anymore, so you're not getting those double-digit numbers as easily anymore. So it's not as effective, but it's still an option that is getting run. Even top teams, especially for zones, were giving the Flames of Roller a shot as type of midline support. And it is an option, sure, but you have to know how to play it. Flingza can paint, it has Ink Mine and Tana missiles. I think for zones it's a solid option if you really want to use missiles to get some things going, but outside of zones I wouldn't say that it's worth it. And also, you kind of lose a player by that. The Flingzer can't kill. Flingzer can do nothing but sit back and support the zone, so the rest of the thing gotta compensate for all the aggressive options, which is, in what we've seen and what we've discussed as comps, it won't work. You won't make this your midline while the rest of the weapons are support Slayer aggro weapons. That won't work. So what have we learned today in order to deal with backline comms and especially leader? Adapt your positioning. Draw attention and the other players from the opposing side towards areas that the leader simply can't reach anymore. Fight in areas where the leader has no impact and therefore is useless. So you make it a 4v3 and you're more likely to overcome that. And therefore it's especially important to act as a unit, that you communicate with each other, that you look out for each other, that you are always in distance to help in fights, to make it a 2v1 rather than just a 1v1 situation, that every player can cover each other in fights. Flanks. There's nothing more disturbing for a backline than suddenly having a Slayer in front of them. And these are the moments that you can, kind of force by drawing attention through team fights. If you make a fight obvious, if you're comfortable to fight in an open area where the leader could potentially reach you, do that if you feel safe and send one player on a sneaky mission to deal with the opposing backline. Another way to do this is the zombie strat that we've discussed. AQR, slave, going in, poking, looking for generally picks, or you can focus them on a certain player. This doesn't have to be the leader in all cases. You can also go for the support player as an example. Get rid of them, they lack paint, and so they'll automatically lose to the force that your offensive team is asserting. Know your roles and play safe. There's nothing more threatening to your own side than constantly losing players due to them not paying enough attention. You have to know what your role on your weapon is. For example, putting the paint down, or as a midline cover all your teammates, force the opposing players back. So you have to play your role as safe as possible. Don't get splatted, so that the player that you choose to get the deaths and also be the main force to go in and get the kills for your side can do their job. It's easier for everyone if you stick to your role and play as you discussed before. And then, last but not least, consider your results. For some teams it might work out, for others don't. Give it a try, test around it, and give me feedback how it works, how your experience is against anchor comms, and maybe we can get some cool comp ideas down in the comments below. And with that, thanks for watching. I hope you're all staying safe, you're all healthy, and it's getting close to Christmas. Why not make me the present of subscribing, liking the video, ringing the notification bell? I'd be happy, you'd be happy to have more content. Doesn't that sound like a great deal? And in any case, we'll see each other in another video. Until then, bye bye.